Hey everybody! As some of you know, I've been getting back into a hobby that I haven't been in for about 20 years, and that is model railroading, or as most people call it, playing with trains. Back when I was a kid, I did this with my dad as I was growing up. He had the smaller scale, the N scale, and I had the HO scale because I was little and I couldn't handle the little fine details and everything else like that. But as time went on, I got older and I wanted to play with the N gauge trains. N scale, N gauge, same thing. And when Dad would go on trips for work and everything, then I would simply take Dad's trains and play with him. And when I got out of the hobby, I had bought myself some N-scale engines and cars and everything, but never really had my own table or anything. And once I moved out, I never really had space and just kind of left it behind for, cars and ladies and all the other things that, late teens and early 20s kids do. So I've now got space for it. I've been getting back into it. I've built a table, as you can see. I've got a little backdrop set up, a few things like that. But there's been one major change in this, and this is the way that the trains are actually run. When I got out of the hobby, there was something called DC, which was just direct current, which meant that it simply ran the engine. There's now something called DCC, which is digital command control. It works with networking protocols and programming configuration variables, all sorts of stuff like that, which, I'm a computer person, so I was kind of interested in it, and it's been so cool that I decided I would make a short video about it and maybe some more down the road. So let's get started. Okay, first I'm going to cover the hardware setup really quickly. This gray box right here is what you would use in the old days to control something with DC. What I've gone to is DCC, so I have a command station. Down here is my 5 amp booster. I also have a LocoNet Wi-Fi interface. Wi-Fi, that's networking. Yep, it is. I've also got a Digitrax PR4 for programming, which is hooked up by USB to a laptop to a programming track. So again, programming, network, laptops, USB, all sorts of stuff that I'm familiar with. So I'm just going to cover some of the differences on how this actually works right now. I've got 2 test tracks set up. As you can see, there are 2 trains right here. Now, this is a simplified version, but it's enough to get the point across. This brown one is on DC, and this one is on DCC. It's my new Scale Trains Tier 4 GEVO. So for the brown one, and you can watch where I simply rotate the knob and the train will begin to move. And as I spin it, it moves more and it moves less. And it goes around the circle. This is what it did when I was a kid, and I thought that was pretty neat when I was younger. It's still kind of neat, people do scenery, towns, backdrops, all sorts of stuff like that. Now for the digital, what I have is my laptop set up over here. You can't really see the screen that well, but I'm running something called JMRI, which is the Java Model Railroad Interface. That lets me actually program these engines. It's kind of a scary thought, but you don't actually have to program them to make them really work. They work out of the box. The programming is simply to customize things. Now again, going back to my command station and my LocoNet Wi-Fi interface, what would you want a Wi-Fi interface for? Well, my table is roughly 9 feet by 14.5 feet in an M shape, so if I wanted to do something with the trains, I simply have to sit here at this gray box, which doesn't move, and control the train. If I wanted to do something on a town over here, or whatever else I happen to set up, then I would actually have to get up, leave the controller either on or turn it off while I go over to do something. That's just not fun. But what DCC with the digital command control lets you do is use other devices to control your trains. They do have a standard type throttle like this that you can get as a bench mounted solution, but that's not what I wanted. What I wanted was something a little bit more mobile, so I can simply walk around and control the train as I walk around. So let's watch this one here on the outside loop. I'm actually controlling it with an old tablet that I have from a couple years ago. Hopefully this will show up well without too much glare. So you can see right now it says forward. I've selected a locomotive, so what I can do is hit the locomotive number and I'm going to release it. So if I came to this layout fresh and I wanted to grab a train, I would simply press to select. type in the address, which I've set to the road number of the engine, which is 3786. I've got it here as a favorite, so I simply hit that. Now, here's where everything gets neat, because while I can use this to start the train moving, this one is also equipped with a lock sound decoder. So I can do other neat little things, like make it do startup sounds. This is the orange engine doing this. This is not a speaker system on the table. This is nothing external. The sound is actually coming from the engine. So it goes through its prototypical, or in other words, real-life startup sound sequence as when they fire up the real diesel engine, and I can start to control it. And as you saw, with the old style, I simply rotate the knob and it starts moving immediately. I'm going to set my speed to about 1/3 here. And watch as it actually has a ramp-up sequence and a configuration table that controls how quickly it will start moving. So I'm not even touching the tablet now. It's adjusting speed on its own. So we'll watch it go around the table here. It's still making its little running sounds. And as it comes around, I'm going to turn on the lights. So we're going to say headlights and ditch lights. Notice how it has the lights there. Those are actually separately controlled. On DC, these things simply stayed on when the engine was on, and they got brighter as the engine went faster. With DCC, I can adjust this by turning it on and off at any point. And as it comes around, I'm going to show you when I hit the dimmer switch here. I can hit the dimmer switch and the light still remains on, but it's subdued. This is, again, all controlled right here on the tablet, which means I can simply walk wherever I want. I can go over here to the other side of the table, and I can speed the train up. There we go. As it's going around, I decide, oh, I'd like to stop it. On the old style, when you turn the knob down, it simply stops. But for this, I'm going to hit my stop button. And I've hit stop. Notice the throttle is 0, but it slows itself down automatically. It doesn't come to an abrupt jerking stop. Now where this gets extra neat is right now I simply have these set up as 2 isolated electrical circuits. With DCC, since it's digital command control, the engine is controlled by network packets, not direct voltage. Which means if I wanted to run 3 of these old style trains, I need 3 separate throttles, I need 3 separate electrical blocks, I have to do insulators between, I may need toggle switches depending on how I want to separate everything out. For the digital command control here, this tablet can control as many engines as I want within electrical limitations. Again, my system is a 5 amp, so I could theoretically run 10 or 12 engines on this using just that tablet. I simply hit to select between them. I can see 3 of them at any given point in time. You'll see here the top one, but these lower ones that say press to select, I could simply select another engine here, and I could control 3 of them at the same time. Now if I want to control something else, I simply pick a different engine, and whichever one I was controlling before continues running or doing whatever it was doing before. So I'm going to show you one last thing with this, and this is the shutdown. So I can turn off the dimmer and the ditch lights and the headlights. Whoops. Oh, one other thing, I can do like coupling sounds, like if I was backing up to couple to something. The sound of it coupling or uncoupling. And again, all of this is coming from the engine, not an external speaker system. Now let's shut it down. And you'll hear it go through its normal shutdown sequence, exactly like a large-scale diesel locomotive would. And that's the end of my first week adventuring into DCC. Goodbye, everybody.